We're moving to Yay! Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you for coming back. This is our first ever video since we announced that we are moving to Australia, so I thought I would come on and give you an overview of how we got to where we are and a helpful timeline, which I'm going to put down here. I think I should probably get rid of this veg cut and make it a bit easier. Yep, and my little mouse, his little feet are dangling. Let's take him down too. So this way I can give you a clear understanding of our timeline, and from when we started to where we are, you can see the process and how long it took. So I have my little book here that I have filled in. Isla has had her hands on it first and completely ruined it. That doesn't matter, I've got all my dates in here. So taking it way back, me and Ewan have been together for 9 years, so quite a while, and it's something that we'd always spoke about, moving abroad, living abroad, and just in general living a life in the sun. However, we obviously got married and we had kids, and when we first had set our date for our wedding, we had always said it would be something that we would look at. But we'd never really done anything about it, and then we had family and friends who moved over, they emigrated and they're still there, which was a good few years ago. They absolutely love it and we see a lot of their videos and social media posts, and that was kind of where we officially planted the seed and said that's something that I would really like to do. And I think for us, I would be honest and say that the pandemic had a huge impact on it. I felt like we were, as everyone was, really stuck with things to do, really down, and just we had that time to really think about what we wanted to do, and if it was what we wanted to do, how are we going to do it. So we spent a lot of time during the pandemic on YouTube. We watched a lot of YouTube channels of families and people who had moved to Australia, just in general moved abroad. At the beginning, I was really unsure on where I thought would be nice to bring up a family. It was really between Canada and Australia for us, and through loads of research and just general preferences as well, we narrowed it down to Australia. And this, over the next few videos, I would really love to explain why it was Australia and how we actually were able to do it, so how we were actually able to go to Australia. So in future videos I would like to cover in more detail things about visas and childcare costs, cost of living, where we will be located, etc, etc. So for this video alone, I would just like to do basically a brief overview of how we got to where we are and the timeline, and then anything else that you would like to know, please feel free to leave in the comments below so that I can make sure that I cover that off, because it is a massive move and one that I'm sure lots of people are considering. So hopefully our videos can help with that, and more so that we are a family of 4, 2 young kids, a 3-year-old and under 1 when we travel. So yeah, that's something that hopefully can help a lot of people as well. So after our little boy was born in March of this year, we decided to have a look into things and see if it would be feasible for us to even move to the other side of the world. And the first thing we started with was work. So Ewan is a civil engineer and he decided to have a look just on Google. He just looked for big construction companies in Australia, so not necessarily narrowing it down to a specific state, just the companies that are over there, what they were called, and if any of them would be suited to his area of work. So we narrowed it down to, I think it was 2 or 3, and from there Ewan went on to LinkedIn and looked at the employees that worked there, more so the recruitment part, any mutual connections that he had with anybody, he would reach out and ask them. And he basically reached out and introduced himself, explained that we were looking to emigrate as a family of 4 and the kind of work that he has done here in the UK. He attached his CV and asked if there were any opportunities as well as any relocation offers or packages that that company in particular could offer. So this was in April, and by the end of April he had had 2 replies looking to set up an informal telephone conversation to understand our suitability and basically what stage we were at in our thought process of moving to Australia. So from all the companies that Ewan had reached out to, 2 of them had come back, 2 very large companies in construction over in Australia, and one of them was in Perth and one of them was in Sydney. So he had a conversation with both of them very early, may I add, due to the time difference. He got a feel for each of the companies, and we had a list of questions as well as they did, and eventually it basically narrowed down to the relocation packages. So company A was offering to pay for our flights for all 4 of us, our house when we go over there for 6 weeks, which is a great help, a car for 2 weeks, and any shipping costs. So when you move over to Australia, you can take over a shipping container. However, currently it's taken up to 9 months for it to reach you over in Australia. So if you're thinking of taking things such as your bed or your couches, your TV, anything along these lines, then it's not going to be with you for quite a while. So that is something to consider if you are looking at going anytime soon. I'm not sure if this is a backlog because of everything with the pandemic, but certainly it was something that we are now not considering due to the time. So we are going to take maximum luggage that we can take over, and also we are going to air freight a few things as well. And then finally, company A were also paying for all of our visas, so 100% of everyone's visa. So amazing, that's a massive tick and something that we would welcome with open arms. Company B, however, they were offering our flights for 90% of my flight, 100% of Ewan's flight, but no Isla and Ren's. And they were offering the same with the visas, so they were going to pay for Ewan's visa and my visa, but not the kids. And then they weren't offering a car, but I think they were offering a house, and it was only for 2 weeks, I think. Don't quote me on it, but yeah, there was a massive difference in each of the packages. So we decided, based on that alone, that we were going to go for company A. In addition, the wage that Ewan was offered with company A was more attractive than company B. However, I would say both wages were very attractive. Company A was offering more of a package that was much more attractive to us as a family moving over. So that was what made our final decision to go with company A. And as it transpired, they had work in Sydney. So that is where our destination is going to be when we arrive in Australia. So after the informal chat, we moved into May, and kind of during this time they do give you 2 weeks, kind of sometimes 3 weeks, just as a cooling off period, just to kind of judge if it is something that you're serious about. They'll set up another call and just ask how you're getting on. And at that point, we really took time to research various things about obviously Sydney. Now that we knew that that's where we would be located, we looked at Sydney, we looked at the cost of living, we reached out to friends. And it wasn't until the beginning of July when all our details were passed over to the recruitment department of that company, and that was when things started really getting put in place. Ewan also had a conversation with them to really understand what areas of work he would be best suited to. They were also interested to know what kind of motivated us to be moving over to Australia, how serious we were as a family of 4 moving over, and also what we actually knew about Australia. So if you are looking to go down this path, it's worth doing your research. It really makes you stand out from others that are potentially interested as well, and it lets them know that it is something you are really serious about. In addition, they did also ask about our expectations. So again, it's something that you should definitely know and have a full appreciation of before you take that step and contact some companies. So once Ewan was offered a job, this was actually discussed throughout July, but it wasn't until the beginning of August when he was actually given a written contract that we had to sign, and in the contract was all the terms and conditions of the relocation package. So like I mentioned before, they were paying for all our visas, all our flights, a house for 6 weeks once we arrive, and a car for 2 weeks. All the terms and conditions of that were detailed in Ewan's contract. So before we signed it, we made one final check over of everything. We actually made a spreadsheet of all our current outgoings and what they would be in Australia. We looked into additional costs such as superannuation, childcare subsidy, whether we were entitled to it or not, Medicare. These are all things I would really like to go into more detail in future videos. However, for this time, I just want to explain that these are additional costs that we don't have in the UK that we've really had to consider before accepting this job offer. In addition, living in Sydney meant that we were living in, quite frankly, the most expensive part of Australia, but we wouldn't be living in the city centre. So we had to look at suburbs and areas out with Sydney. We currently are still looking. That this has been the hardest thing from our full journey so far, is trying to decide where we want to live as a family. There is so much attraction in Australia, and you've obviously got a stunning beach. And one of the reasons we're moving over there is for the outdoor lifestyle and of course the beaches. So we don't really want to be 3 hours from a beach, but at the same time, the closer you get to the beach, the more expensive the houses are. We also are moving for the houses over there. They are much bigger, you get a lot more for your money. So we don't want to be moving right next to the beach to be living in a tiny house again. So we are thinking of moving about an hour from Sydney city centre and into the suburbs around that area. We still have not decided. It's something that we have the luxury of once we get over there. I've been able to have a look around, especially having the house for 6 weeks. However, it would also be good, we have a lot to do once we arrive, so it would also be good to know an area. So we're currently narrowing it down, and like I say, we are approximately about 45 minutes to an hour from the city centre. Bearing in mind Ewan's work is going to be in Sydney CBD, so we have to stay in and around that area so that he's not travelling 2 hours to get to work. It just wouldn't be fair every morning. So bear with, because we're still currently working on that. And if you are someone who lives in Australia or has immigrated to Sydney in particular, please comment below and let me know your family suburbs that you would recommend, because yeah, we are struggling. So another part of our terms and conditions that we received was the visa, and in particular the visa that we were going on. So just to make it clear, the company that Ewan is working for are sponsoring us on a 482 TSS visa, which means that they are sponsoring us to go out and work for them, well, Ewan anyway. And the 482 TSS means a temporary short skills visa, and it means that Ewan's job is currently on the skills shortage list, and therefore that is one of the reasons that they are offering such a great opportunity for us to go out there. However, it does mean that we are basically in contract with them. Without going into too much details, if we leave within the 2 years of arriving there, we are due a lot of the money to be paid back to the company. Ewan's contract is currently for 4 years, so it's 4 years worth of work. But it just means if we were to return back in the first 2 years, then obviously we're paying back quite a bit of money. However, there's something I quite like about that, because it keeps you there. It's motivation for you to stay there and really give it a try. And I think 2 years is a really good time to try something like a massive move to Australia. I think 2 years gives you enough time to really settle in as a family and make it feel like home, and really understand if it is something that you can see yourself living there for a long term, or if it's something that you think, I've tried it but I'm really struggling and it's just not for me. 2 years in the grand scheme of things is not a long time, and the way we're seeing it is it's an opportunity for us for 2 years, and if we don't like it, then we come home. Everything is still here for us. It's going to be an amazing experience, and we can come home and say we tried it, it's not for us, but we'll have a better outlook on life in the UK. On the flip side of that, if we give it 2 years and we think, wow, this is amazing, I want to live here for the rest of my life, then that's great. But it's not putting that initial pressure on us just now as a family to say we're moving over there for life and it's all going to be great, because we all know that it's not, and life does not go that way. But I think it's good to not have that initial pressure. So yeah, I'm really chuffed that it's a 2 year contract with them. I think it really does push us to try it out for 2 years, and then if we come back after 2 years, we're not due anything back and we can just come home and say we tried it. Again, there are a lot of visas that you can apply for depending on your current circumstance, and it is something that I'm going to invite Ewan in to discuss because he has looked into loads of visas and he can explain a bit more about them in a later video. So again, if there's anything you are keen to understand about visas, please comment below and I'll make sure that we cover that off in our future video. So after doing lots of late night Excel spreadsheets and checking YouTube, watching all videos again of families that have emigrated over, what their cost of living is like, what their opinion of Australia is, how they're settling in as a family. I also reached out to friends of mine on Instagram that have emigrated over as a family, and I really got a feel for how they're settling in. I asked loads of questions, I asked loads of things about childcare, what there really is to do, weather, everything and anything, you name it, I did ask. And this made me feel really comfortable that even on Instagram, it doesn't matter where I am, there'll always be someone that I can reach out to and ask a question. No matter where I am in the world, what time it is, there's always someone. It's one of the things that I absolutely love about Instagram. But it really helped. I sent, I don't even know how many voice notes, how many messages, but they both, two girls in particular, came back to me and really helped me feel confident in my decision, and they both gave me the highs and the lows. So something I really recommend doing as well if you are thinking about it, have a look on YouTube, have a look on Instagram, a simple hashtag moving to Australia, emigrating from the UK, emigrating to Oz, all those things will bring up lots of accounts that you can go and look at their journey, ask questions and feel like you're not alone in the full journey. So Ewan officially signed his contract at the beginning of August, and along with that we received a very large document, and it detailed all the things that we would need for our visa application. Wow, I did not know there was going to be so many things that are going to be needed. It took a long time, and it's part of the process that is a long, boring, feels like it's never ending part. It's hard. We were up very late some nights just pulling out statements and certificates from years ago. Ewan had to give all his qualifications, proof of his certificates, education. We also had to get police checks. We both had to give details of holidays that have been on in the last 10 years. That took me way back to when I first went on a girls' holiday. I mean, the dates that you went, where you went to, when you came back. Honestly, if you think about the last 10 years and where you've been in 10 years, I mean, sometimes we were going 3-4 holidays a year. It took a while, and I was sitting on my Facebook trying to go back all my memories to try and figure out when I checked into the airport to go on my girls' holiday to Magaluf. It was honestly so time consuming. So I'm so grateful that we got this document way before the solicitors contacted us, because by that point we had it all to hand, and it kind of shortened that process and made things a lot quicker and easier. In addition to this, we also had to make sure we had valid passports, and because we weren't married when we applied, we had to show proof that we were actually together and in a genuine, stable relationship. So to be able to prove this, we had to give mortgage statements, we had to give statements of each other's relationship, birth certificates from our children, utility bills, Facebook posts about getting engaged, lots of different things that could really prove that we were together. So I'm sure you can appreciate this is also time consuming and something that you really want to consider doing very early on if you can. Because this was in August, but we never actually heard from the solicitors until November, so that gave us a good chunk of time to get all of that together. It's also, again, another cooling off period for people at that point. When they've signed a contract and saying that they are going over there, it's probably a really big reality check that things are actually happening and you are going to be moving, and I'm sure a lot of people at that point may get cold feet and decide this definitely isn't what we want, and then there's other people like ourselves who are still there and still comfortable and feeling confident that we are doing the right thing. So if things are taking a long time, that is why. It really does give you the cooling off time, and it also gives the company the time as well, that they're not investing a lot of money and time into someone who isn't feeling that they're 100%. So that takes us to November when we met Tana. So she is our relocation coordinator, and she has been provided by Ewan's employer. So she's basically our Australia mum, is what I like to call her. We've already had a couple of meetings with her, one when we originally were introduced to her, and another meeting just to check in and see where we were in terms of our visa application, because she was the one that set us up with the solicitors who then gathered all our documentation and applied for our visas.
Good morning.
Hi.
There. How are you?
Morning, Tana. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you guys? Congratulations.
Thank you. Finally.
Thanks. I don't think that the visa won't be approved, but there's always potential that it's not as well. And so from you guys, you have to make that decision of when you feel comfortable to start that process, bearing in mind that you actually don't have a visa to move to Australia yet. And that's probably a conversation that you guys can have offline together. And the business will wait, and the business will support whatever you guys need to do to feel comfortable in closing down what you have to do there to move over here. So fingers and toes across the visa's approved in January. Basically.
She has also taken down some details of where we're looking to stay. She's actually relocated a lot of times. I can't remember the exact figure, but she's relocated a lot of times, so it's nice to have someone that you can resonate with and someone who's been through it, so she completely understands and just gives you some really good advice as well about travelling, especially with young kids. So she's someone that I can pick up the phone to anytime and just tell her how I'm feeling, if I've got any anxieties, which are perfectly normal, and she will meet us at the airport when we arrive and help us with our accommodation over in Australia. And then finally on the 30th of November our visas were officially lodged, and we were told at that point that it would take between 4 and 16 weeks for these to be approved. Now, even though you may tick all the boxes on paper, it doesn't necessarily mean that your visa is going to be approved. This was a big waiting game for us. We didn't want to do anything in terms of selling our house or putting our house on the market, selling anything in the UK until we knew for definite that the visas had been approved. Likewise, we didn't want to book any flights until we knew for definite that we were going to be shutting up here in the UK and heading off to Australia. So we couldn't really move forward with anything until we knew for definite that the visas had been approved. So at this point it felt like we were waiting for a while. However, in actual fact, it took less than 4 weeks for our visas to be approved. So today is the 9th of December and we have some exciting news.
Visas have been approved.
Yay! Our visas have been approved! Say yay!
Yay!
And this takes us up to just now, which currently we are on the 30th of December. Our house is now on the market. It went on the market on the 26th of December, so Boxing Day. We were able to get things moving quite quick with all of that. We arranged a home report a few weeks ago and that was all done, so all we had to do was get the pictures of the house and get it on the market. So all going well, it should hopefully sell very quickly, and we are planning to head off around March time. As it stands, we haven't actually had any requests for viewings just yet, but it has only been on for a few days, so we're hopeful that in the beginning of January, maybe the first couple of weeks, we'll get a few more and we'll see how things are sitting in terms of hopefully getting it sold. At that point we will have another meeting with Tana and we'll have our flights booked and we will know an official date for our move from the UK. So in the meantime, there is a lot that we can still be getting on with. We're selling quite a bit in the house that we're currently not using, and just things that we can really get rid of just now. We are trying to spend a lot of time with our family. Again, that is a video that I will do separately of how our family have been in terms of support and how they are feeling also. And then finally we will have to pack up everything we can into cases that we have and see how we go from there. So right now we are hopefully going to have a meeting with Tana in the next few weeks, and hopefully next time I will have a official date for us leaving, and my next video can get you involved as well and we can talk more about visas. So as always, thank you so much for watching my videos. If you do enjoy them, please do like and subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment on anything that you would like us to cover off in our next few videos. And I will see you all soon.